writers, producers that are coming up behind my generation. In particular, Barry Jenkins. Young people understand this young man made 10, 15, 20 short films before he got the opportunity to make Moonlight. So never give up. Without commitment, you'll never start. But more importantly, without consistency, you'll never finish. It's not easy. If it was easy, there'd be no Kerry Washington. If it was easy, there'd be no Taraji Henson, P. Henson. If it were easy, there'd be no Octavia Spencer. But not only that, if it were easy, there'd be no Viola Davis. If it were easy, there'd be no Michael T. Williamson, no Stephen McKinley Henderson, no Russell Hornsby. If it were easy, there'd be no Denzel Washington. So keep working, keep striving, never give up, fall down 7 times, get up 8. Ease is a greater threat to progress than hardship. Ease is a greater threat to progress than hardship. So keep moving, keep growing, keep learning. See you at work.
Welcome, 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 welcome. It is Friday, June 22nd, 2018. You're in the studios of WLTT 1180 AM. The show is called No Covers Live, Straight Talk, No Chaser. I'm your host, Al Alameen, coming to you out of the port city of Wilmington, North Carolina. Port city of Wilmington, North Carolina. Tomorrow night, June 23rd, 2018, at 7 p.m., the meet and greet starts at 6 to 7 p.m. Come out to the Coastline Convention Center, 501 Nut Street, Wilmington, North Carolina. The Making an Impact Banquet. CLI Radio presents the Making an Impact Banquet, a night of music, a night when we're going to honor some folks in this town, a silent auction, and you're going to get some impactful information in this town that's going to lead us in a right direction. I need you out tomorrow night. Tickets are $45 a person. Table of 9 is $360. You got 9 friends, get together and pay the $360 to get a whole table. Pick up tickets today right here at WLTT 1180 AM. Get your tickets now. Come out, enjoy yourself, meet some people in town, network. Come out for a night of fun. That's the Making an Impact Banquet, June the 23rd, 2018. That's tomorrow night. Not too late to get your ticket. Get your ticket and come out for a good night of entertainment, a good night to enjoy with your family, and a good night to support a good cause. CLI Radio right here at WLTT 1180 and Gospel Joy. Support the family here, support the network that's going on here, support what's happening in the community here. Glad to see my Facebook line coming online. I see you all. Thank you for all your support as usual. I see some new guests and some old guests. So thank you for joining in on today's show. Hope you get some valuable information from today's show. I try to study each day and try to make sure I bring you something of value. I don't want to just talk on the mic. I want to make sure that the words that are coming out have value to them, and they have meaning in your life and able to make a change in your life today. So welcome you all on the Facebook page. As also I'm over here looking at the Gospel Joy family as well that join in. I want to do a part 2 today. If you bear with me, I have to read back to Wednesday's show because I had the concept that we came up with called community addiction. And what we did is we translated in my field of work outside of writing books and radio. I work in the field of working with people coming out of prison. And lately, we've been having a big rise of population that's coming out early, that have went in for a short period of time. And so they're coming out still struggling with the process of addiction, struggling with addictive behaviors. And in doing so, and having to do certain work, you have to do certain research. So I stumbled across research about a couple of months ago because I wanted to, in my field, used to study psychology, and in working in psychology, I used to work with mental health patients. So my background is mostly mental health. When we deal with substance abuse, that's a different type of mental health, even though it's diagnosed on the DSM-5 as a substance abuse disorder. I had to do some more research because working with a patient that's clinically having psychological problems or behavior problems, or it's totally different because a lot of that is biological. A lot of that is by something within their biological system that's not triggering right. And so when I work with, especially with children and adults that had severe mental disabilities for years, it was pretty much easy work and joyful work because the scientific knowledge was there, and we were able to work with them and give them some enjoyment out of life, and they were really responsive. So 5 years ago, I started working in another line of mental health, and that is working with people coming out of prison and working with people with struggling with this addictive behavior, this struggling with abuse and struggling with trying to fight this abuse. And so it became my mission to do more research because in college I had studied substance abuse disorder. I used to work with the rats in cage with cocaine in the college at UNCW. Dr. Galizia over there was one of my professors at and he's well known in the field of chemical dependency. And so for years I worked with him doing research for him in at UNCW in chemical dependency. So I had a little background. But today's, we don't like to use the word addict. We like to use the word today's people. Labels on people is not good. Call them an addict. You know, people struggling with disabilities, people struggling with addiction. Always put the people first. We say people who are formerly incarcerated. We don't say criminals. We are convicts. We say people who were formerly incarcerated because we always want to put the people element there. So in working with people with struggling with this addiction behavior, in all the research, I came up with 7 signs. It was more than that, sometimes 20. I like to narrow things down to the basic signs. And it was 7 basic signs. And so what we did Wednesday show, I took those 7 signs that are always there, 7 signs that are always on the behavior of a person that's addicted and a person struggling with addiction. And we took those 7 signs, and I noticed a pattern over time. I noticed a pattern within our community. And I began to see a pattern that the signs that I saw with the people that I work with every day struggling with addiction were the same signs I saw in my community on its lack of productivity, its lack of function, its lack of movement. And I'm talking about specifically my African-American community and the inner city community at large. There were certain dysfunctional signs I saw with the person struggling with addiction that correlated. I mean, it was right. I looked, it was like watching a roadmap. And so Wednesday we went in detail and I detailed these 7 signs that I saw and how they related or how they compared to our community. And so in a recap, how you doing, Victoria? I see you again. Appreciate that comment you gave me on Facebook page. I appreciate that comment. I might get to that in a second. When we went to this addictive behavior, one of them we're going to go down the list real quick, and then I'm going to get today. I want to talk about the cure. Because it's okay to see the signs, but I said part 2, I would come back and I would talk about the cure, how to cure this addictive behavior. Because it's good enough to point the finger at our community and say, hey, but do we have the answers within us to cure this behavior of non-productivity? And I believe we do. If we take the same measure that we use to help heal a person suffering with addiction. One of the 7 signs were unsuccessful attempts to quit. This is what we call denial. The second trigger was the acute triggered relapse, meaning that there were things that happen if a person that's addicted, there are things that acute, they can go somewhere and acute trips up and they have a relapse based on a trigger. We related that to the community, that there are certain cues that control us in the community, within our African-American community. Media knows certain cues they can use and they throw these cues and we respond. We go relapse right back to where we were before. The other one was staying vigilant. One of the biggest problems with a person struggling with abuse and substance abuse is they will not stay vigilant. They start off good, 30 days, 20 days, 10 days. They start off real good, and then they start to wean down. They start to get tired of the run. Because when you're struggling, a person struggling with an addiction will struggle with that addiction the rest of their life. That's the first thing they have to remember. So what happens is they start off great, and then they wind down, and then they end up relapsing and going back. The other sign was cross addiction, and we related that to this integration process, and we'll get in that in a minute. The other one was self-medication, and the last one was genetic vulnerability, that genetic, generation after generation after generation, you still have the same behavior. You look over in the African-American community, it's the same. So today I want to talk about the cures. I want to talk about how we can cure. And 910-765, if you want to chime in, if you want to comment on the page, you can as well. I see some on the Gospel Joy line as well. I won't bite. I keep telling you that. People like to listen, and sometimes I like engagement. So 765-90097 is the number. I won't bite you. I promise. I promise. Mr. Roberts always tell me to say that I won't bite. The first sign of a person that's suffering, we said, was the unsuccessful attempts to quit. This is called denial. Denial. That's the biggest sign of a person that has a disorder or a substance abuse disease. It is denial. They deny that they have a problem. And then look at our community, because I want to do the cures today. How do we, when we look at our community, that's one of the biggest problems. We deny that we have a problem. We act as if we don't have a problem. We act as if in 2018, it takes something major like Donald Trump to wake us up. This problem has been here forever. It takes a Trump. It takes something major to wake us up. Whoa, it's racism. It ain't just started yesterday, people. It's always been here. But we've been in denial that it was here. We were sitting here just like the person struggling with addiction. We'll be sitting in here with denial that it even exists. So the cure process that we have to do with a person struggling with addiction, the cure or the remedy or the treatment that we use is acceptance. We have to get the person first to accept that they have a drug problem, accept that there's a problem going on, accept that the behavior needs to change. That's the cure for us over here. The first problem we have is we have to acknowledge there's a problem. Now here's the problem with that. What they call it, a double adjective or something? Here's the problem. With the problem, many of us don't see that we have a problem. We see it and then it goes away. We see it and then we can't figure it out. We see it, but we can't put our finger on it. But there's a problem there. We see the disunity, but we mask it as if we are unified. We have some that have moved up in society and some that have come down in society. We have different levels within our community, but we can see that there's a problem, but we won't acknowledge that the African, it's like a shame on us to say, you know what, our African American community, our inner city community has a big problem that we have to overcome. We see a history of progress. And I don't deny that there's been progress. Don't get me wrong. I've seen the old clips. I've seen the old tapes. I've read all the old books. I've seen the progress. So I don't deny that there's progress. But the progress has not been on the steady uprising as everyone else. So if you have a train that's moving 5 miles each day, but every other train is moving 10 miles each day, no matter how much the progress, you're still lagging behind. And so what we do in our community, we see the progress. I say sometimes because we can sit on toilet with massa. That's what we used to say. Because we can go to the restaurant and eat. Because we can sit in the same schools now. Because we can go to the malls that we used to couldn't go to before. We see progress. But the problem with the progress is we can go to the malls, but most of us don't have the money that we need. Not with the train that's going 10 miles an hour. We can go to the restaurant, but we mostly eat bad food because we eat cheap food because we really don't have the finances, the money that we need. We can sit on the school and go to the school, but we lag behind in education because the parents really don't have the resources and availability to the resources that they need. So regardless of the progress, it is negated by the fact that the rest of the society is moving more faster and more further than the train that we're sitting on. So it looks as if we're moving, but we're really going nowhere, because the target goal is continuously moves faster and further than we can reach. So it begins no process. So what we have to do is acknowledge that there's a need for unity. We have to acknowledge that there's a problem. We have to call one another out to the carpet. That's one of the things we do when we call each other in substance abuse. We have a thing where they call each other out to help each other and support each other. When they go to meetings, they see when they slip, they call each other out. They say, "Ho, you slipping." We have to be that kind of community where we're not so thick-skinned or thin-skinned, and we can't call each other and deal with each other the same way we deal with a person suffering from a substance abuse disorder. We're in denial. We're still sitting in denial for so long that there is a problem that exists that needs to be corrected. As long as we're in denial that there's there, we're never going to fix it. We have to first acknowledge it and then take hold of it. We have to look at that person in the mirror, each one of us. Whenever there is something that goes on in our community, each one of us have to look in the community, look in the mirror and say, what did I not do? Not what this person didn't do or that person didn't do. What, Daoud, did you not do to fix that problem? Where were you at when that person got in trouble? Where were you at on supporting Black businesses? Do you make a conscious effort? I have to ask myself that every week. Do I make a conscientious effort to make sure I spend at least $5 or $10 within a Black business every week? At least 5 or 10, if not more. Do I make a conscious effort that when I spend my dollars, I'm spending it with someone who's going to revert it back? Do I make that conscientious effort? Do I make a conscious effort to stay on top of the events that's going on in my community, the ideas that circulated, and I can move us forward? Or do I just say, I got mine, you get yours? But that's what happens a lot of times with acknowledgement. We don't acknowledge there's a problem because in our real world, we don't think there's a problem because it's like, I got mine, you get yours. It's up to them. When we look at the activities what's going on, the bills that's being cut with food stamps, Medicare, it don't bother me. I'm good, I don't use them. But it affects us one way or the other. You like that idea? Acknowledgement. That's the first thing we have to do. We have to acknowledge the problem, just like the person struggling with addiction has to acknowledge the problem. The second thing with the person struggling with addiction, we call it cued triggered relapse. A cued triggered relapse in a person struggling with addiction is that they can go somewhere and a cue triggers them to reverse back to bad behavior. Meaning it could be a cookout and they remember the last time it was a cookout and they partied, they got high. That one cookout, a hamburger, cue it, boom, it triggered them back. And the next thing you know, they're high up again. A cue trigger relapse. Cue. Now, how do we stop the cue? Because we have cue trigger relapse. What they will do is they will cue us and we trigger a relapse. We go right back. A good example I've used recently, that I used it recently on the page. I talked about the Black Panther movie and how all of a sudden they cued us with Superfly. They cue us. They know what to give us to respond. They know the clothing to give us to respond. They know the hairstyles to give. We don't create these hairstyles alone. We don't create this clothing, this fashion. Fashion world is controlled by someone else. We may come up with it, but somebody takes the idea and run it on the commercial. We don't pay for the commercials. We don't have enough shows on the TV to control what we dress like. This is given to us. We're not controlling our narrative. Someone else is always giving us a cue to respond, just like they do with a person that's addictive. Let me give you an example I want to use in controlling our narrative and telling our story. The other day, I talked about Stephon Clark. Did anyone know? And the reason why I did this the other day was the reason. Because I knew I was coming to something today. I had this time. Did anyone know on Tuesday that they started an 8 days, 8-shot campaign for Stephon Clark? Now, just 3 months ago, Stephon Clark was on the news every day, CNN, NBC, Fox News. You couldn't find a station. The name Stephon Clark was in your mind. It was being programmed. It was fed to you on a daily basis. You had marches in the city here. You had marches across the country. You had marches in Sacramento where the incident happened. Oh, for you all that really forgot, I'm talking about Stephon Clark, the young man who was shot 8 times in the back while trying to climb a fence in Sacramento. We had uprisings all across the country just 3 months ago. Within the last 3 months, the name has barely been mentioned. On Tuesday, the city or the community or the Black Lives Matter team in Sacramento, and even though I still disagree with them boycotting, giving the boycott up against the Sacramento Kings, I thought that was their leverage. But they came up with a new campaign called 8 Shots, 8 Days. So they protested for 8 days, not marching. And I know I got your message about that, Victoria. My brother Kahan, I got that. Not marching. They were protesting. They were taking over establishments and trying to protest and blocking establishments and bringing attention to the 8 days for 8 shots. And they wanted to do this for 8 days in a row to bring it back to the surface, because when it happened, it had got lost in the narrative because we don't control the narrative. Because they stopped giving us the cue trigger response. We were waiting on the cue to trigger our response, a relapse. We're not responding because we didn't get cued. Stop waiting. We have the most powerful tool in our hand called Google and internet right now. There is not an issue that goes on in our community that we should not be able to keep up with and track. I have up my desk top 10 of 20. There are 20 issues that I'm tracking right now that I track every day. And as one in, I add another to the list. I wake up in the morning, I go in the evening, and I'm tracking those issues. There may be someone that got shot in Baton Rouge. I am tracking. You can track it. It's public information. We have the biggest search engine called Google right in front of us. There is not an issue in our community. We should always know how much money is being spent within our community, how much money is here. How you doing, Karen? We should always know that. But we should have a list right in front of us. There's a list in front of my computer, a list right in my to-do list of things that I track every day to make sure I stay on top of what I need to stay on top of. And this is how you move our community forward. If all of us did this, there is no way. I looked at the internet yesterday and today. I posted it this morning on purpose because I was researching. I said, let me see how many times I've seen on Facebook 8 days, 8 shots. But yes, 3 months ago, it was page after page after page, Stephon Clark, because we were being cued. The moment CNN, NBC, and CBS stopped cueing us, we stopped responding. We went right back into a relapse. They took away the cue, we relapsed. We stopped responding. But just 3 months ago, that's all you could see the timeline flooded. You could see Twitter flooded. You could see any other page flooded. The blogs flooded with comments. This is wrong. This is unjust. We need to do something about these police shooting down these innocent young men. 3 months later, his name hadn't been mentioned one time. Because why? They took away the cue and we went right back to sleep. The only press that covered Tuesday event was the Sacramento Bee. And I give Ebony.com a plus for switching on and clicking it on within the last 72 hours, or the last 10 hours. They covered it. They were the only ones, except for the Sacramento Bee, the local paper, that covered the 8 days, 8 shot protest. But just 3 months ago, when that boy jumped on the city council desk, it was all over the place. Because CNN was cueing us. And we were responding. And when they took the cue away, we relapsed back to the same behavior, which brings us to number 3 of the person struggling with addiction. I'll tell you, I'm going to compare us to a person struggling with addiction all day long. I've done my 3. I'm only going to do 4 today. I'm going to save the other 3 for Monday. The third one is staying vigilant. Staying vigilant over the course of time and not letting anybody else control the narrative. Here's the problem with the person struggling addiction. You get healed and go right back to the same behavior that you had. You go right back to the same people that they have. We see it all the time with people struggling with substance abuse addiction. They go through AA, they go through NA, they find a good support group. They go through 3, 4 months, 5 months, even a year, sometime 2 year clean. They start to get their life back together. They start, and all of a sudden they get cocky. They get strong. They start making a little progress. And then they go right back to hang with the same people that got them in the situation the first time. Or they go back to the same places that got them right back in the situation the first time. Or they go back to the same behavior that got them right back in the situation in the first time. This is the problem with a person. They don't stay vigilant enough. We see this all the time in our field. A person come out of prison, they do good for 3 months, they do for 6 months, they do it for a year, and all of a sudden, bam, we see them back in mugshots again. Why? Because they didn't stay vigilant. They didn't stay moving ahead. And that's our community. We get on a subject, we get on an issue, and bam, it's gone. Or someone who has to take it out of our timeline or take it out of our read, and it's gone. It's out of our mind. See, the reason why we didn't hear about 8 days, 8 shots, because it wasn't newsworthy anymore. We're talking about immigration now. We done moved to a whole nother subject. The reason why we don't hear 8 days, 8 shots. We're talking about, so what I'm going to ask folks to do today, I want you all to go to my page and put up 8 days, 8 shots. The post is there. Click it, tag, and share it. I need to get a stream here in Wilmington at least. Because I told somebody I know out in Sacramento, I'm going to try to get your stream on the East Coast. We got 4 days left. For the next 4 days, every morning, I want you to post 8 days, 8 shots and post a picture, 8 days. So I want to bring attention back. Because what happened is these officers are still over there uncharged. We done raised Cain all over the country 3 months ago, but we didn't stay vigilant enough. We didn't stay on top of it enough. We didn't stay focused enough to make sure that the officers still, that we kept pressure in Sacramento. We just can't leave it to our brothers and sisters over there alone. We have to make sure we make the phone calls from the East Coast. So we push the button from the East Coast, the same way we were doing it 3 months ago. The enemy expects us to do exactly what we do, go back to sleep. All we got to do is take it off the main media circuit, and we go back to sleep. But there's no need for us to fall for that trick anymore today because we have access to the circuit ourselves. We control the circuit. We're the biggest users of social media than anyone. We are. We're the biggest, and have no stock in Facebook. We have divested no funds in Facebook at all. But we're the biggest users. We're the biggest users of Twitter. Our athletes not even smart enough to invest in it, but they use it all day long. Our entertainers use it all day long. If you think Trump uses a lot, you go down our show, they use it every day. Especially NBA players. Use it a lot. We can control the narrative. We can control what the information out there. We can control the highway, but we don't. What we do is we don't stay vigilant enough. We go back to sleep. So I'm asking you, 8 days, 8 shots. Go. Let's take this one issue and let's bring it back to life. Because those officers are still at work. Those officers have not been charged, and justice have not been served. 360 a year plus some days. They marched. They didn't ride that bus in Montgomery. They stayed vigilant. They didn't just do it for a month and it was okay. It was see, so good. See, but social media messes us up because it gives us a good feel good. We talk about something for about 2 or 3 weeks and we feel good about it, and then it's gone. Have we tracked what's going on with the Starbucks situation? Do we know do we know if they even did the sensitivity training? Did we check to see how did it go? Or did we just, okay, go back to drinking coffee? We go back to business as usual. Brother Theodore, how you doing today? He's trying to get to me some kind of way. 910-765-0097. 910-765-0097. I see William Crawford on the line. Good brother, I appreciate you for joining in. I haven't seen you in years, and I really want to sit down and talk to you one day. I haven't seen you. I got to get in contact with you. Inbox me and tell me how I can get in contact with you. I know you're going to beat me up because I haven't been to the church in several years. Don't get mad at me, but I probably haven't. I need to get back. But just inbox me and get in touch with me because I really love those conversations we used to have. Vigilant. We don't stay vigilant. The fourth one I want to talk about today, because I'm only going to do 4 today. is the cross addiction. Cross addiction. This is going to another drug, using another source. I'm still going to stay on this situation in Sacramento. There's two things I see in Sacramento we need to learn from. And that's another reason why we need to study situations and we need to stay on top of them, because there's mistakes being made that we can learn from. And one of the biggest mistakes I see is cross addiction. And what we call, in the substance abuse world, we call cross addiction. What happens is a person that's heavy on alcohol, once they get heavy on alcohol, it begins to numb itself, or they have a tolerance for it. Once they get a high tolerance for the alcohol, either increase the alcohol or they go to another drug so they won't have to use as much alcohol. So they end up calling a cross addiction. They cross over to another drug and use their drug so they won't have to use so much of their energy, or they won't have to use so much of the alcohol. They add another drug to their addiction. For us in the community, I'm going to compare this to what we do with other communities in our struggle. And I said this today, and many of you probably will get upset, but I'm no covers. I said this today. A lot of times we feel like we have to have other folks to justify our actions. And other folks, I mean by other races. I'm trying to be politically correct today. Sometimes we feel like we have to have other people to come join with us, and then we believe it's okay. There's a scene in the Malcolm X movie, one of my greatest scenes ever. I love the scene, where the college student, a young female of the Caucasian perspective, comes up to him and says, despite what my ancestors did all these years ago, I really like your speeches. I read your books, and I've really like what you talk about. I've read your articles. What can I do to help? I'm really a good person. What can I do to help you? And he simply looked at her and said nothing. He said one word, nothing, and he walked away. Because he didn't need her to justify or validate. Thank you for the word, Terrence. I was looking for that word, validation. Thank you. So that's why I love my friends. I was looking for that word, Terrence, validation. He didn't need her to validate his argument. He already had studied and was confirmed on his argument, and he knew that we would have to do this ourselves. And so he looked at her and said nothing. If you look at the Sacramento situation, and that's why I stayed on top of it, I want you to go look at it. Here is the mistake I think. I think they made two mistakes. The first mistake I think they made is that they didn't stay focused on the Sacramento Kings. The moment the Sacramento Kings, which was the biggest conglomerate, biggest moneymaker in Sacramento, which would be the Kings, the moment they took the pressure off them and cut a deal with them and allowed them to, I'm going to use the soften them, I'm going to use that word, to make them weak. They allowed the Sacramento Kings to make them weak by giving in and saying, okay, we won't boycott any more games. They lost their power then. That was the first mistake they made. Because really, last night they could have made a big statement. Because last night, you wanted to tie in and want the world to know about the 8 days, 8 nights, or 8 shots. Then last night was the NBA draft. And had you been standing out boycotting last night's NBA draft, the Sacramento Kings, then the whole world again would want to know about the 8 shots, 8 days. Or the 8 days, 8 shots. That was the first mistake I made. But the second mistake is that if you look at the movement now, every movement that we have, we think other folks have to validate us. And so we let them in. And what it does, it weakens us. Sad to say, it weakens us as a people. Sorry, folks, we don't have to break this addiction ourselves. One of the things we deal when we deal with people that are addicted, you can get support from mama. You can get support from daddy. You can get support from brother. You can get support from sister. You can get support from mom. You can get support. But the person that's struggling with the addiction, you don't have to deal with this yourself. You're going to have to fight through this yourself. You're going to have to crawl through this mud yourself. You're going to have to look in that man in the mirror yourself. And the only person who can validate you is yourself. And what we got to stop doing with our addiction, is every time we get a movement, every time we get a struggle going, every time we get some energy, as soon as the other race come, we just let them in the door and just let them sit to the table. And then they start dictating and telling us how to write our policies and procedures. They'll start giving us ideas on, see, that's the beauty of the Panther movie. Did you see the scene? You remember the scene in the Panther? When the commoner or the European man, he wanted to speak? The colonizer. That's what they call him. When the colonizer wanted to speak, they said, you don't speak here. This don't have anything to do with you. That's our addictive behavior. We have this cross addiction. The moment we get some steam, we're doing good. But when they walk in the door, oh, we validated now. We're good to go. You was validated when you started the issue. You validated your stuff when you stepped out there and said, I'm going to handle this problem. You and your faith validated yourself. Once you made a determination that you were going to boycott on the store, and we're going to shut it down until they start treating our people better. If that's what you decided to do when you took a group of people out there and you stayed out there for 360 days, you didn't need anybody else to come validate you and make sure it's okay, you doing the right thing. We think we have to, we actually feel, and so if you notice, I want you to go study the 8 days, 8 shots. Go look at the film of the those that got arrested in front of City Hall last night. There was 8 people that got arrested, 6 of them were white. 6 of them had infiltrated the movement and was the colonizer now. So what happened, it gives you a weakness. Because if you see the picture, because this is how the media works it now. When you let them in, the media is going to take advantage of it. When you let that cross addiction, I'm talking about cross addiction, you're on the 4th sign. If you didn't get the other 3, go back and get them. When you let them in, look at the pictures that they use. When you see the photos, they have one with a young lady, young college female, white, got a sign up in the middle of the city council meeting that said 8 days, 8 shots. And she's sitting over there with 3 seats empty beside on the left side and 3 seats empty beside on the left side, like she the only one at the meeting. They didn't just pick that picture. They took many pictures, but that was the one they put on the Sacramento Bee. To water down your movement. To make your young people that angry mob that you don't want to be around. See, we get these bougie movements and we don't know how to utilize it. See, you give me 100 angry young males jumping on cars. Give them to me. Come on, bring them over here to me. Because we don't know how to take that energy and direct it. Because should I say leaders? As leaders, we are so unattached, disattached from the community and from our young people. We don't know what they listen to. We don't know what they read. We don't know what they study. So by us doing that, when they start jumping on the cars and when they start throwing their hands up and taking their t-shirts off and jumping on top of, whoa, we get, whoa, we get all nervous and scared. And then we went to the other drug, the colonizer. Come help us, give us some strength and unity. And then we run the energy right out the door. The energy that could have really got the movement to another level, we run them right out the door. I've seen it with Trayvon Martin. I've seen it with Mike Brown. I've seen it out there in New York. Every time I've seen it, the energy comes, it's on fire. The media calls it, they're rambunctious, they're angry, they're burning things, they're mad. And what we do, we put water on the fire, and then we go bring the colonizer in the door, who gives us now an agenda. So here's what your agenda should look like. You should have a 12-point agenda. And what you're going to do is you're going to sit in the room and we're going to put some bankroll money behind you because we really love the Black Lives Matter movement. We think the catchphrase is real nice. And we're going to bankroll you and we're going to give you X amount of dollars so you can go on TV circuits and tour the country and what we're going to do. We're going to sit down with a group of lawyers and people, and we're going to give you a 12-point agenda. But when we give you this agenda, here's what you have to also include. There are other items in the community that's bigger than Black Lives. So we want you to add these items to your agenda, but it's still going to be Black Lives Matter agenda, but the Black Lives movement. But we're just going to add things and we water it down. Nothing. That's what you can do for us. Nothing. You give us money, I'll take that. But if we do in the meeting, nothing. Nothing. It's not your problem. Nothing. That's what you can do. We gotta fix this. We gotta look in the mirror and fix this and get out of this addiction ourselves. Because every time I've seen it, go back to civil rights, did the same thing. Next came the women's movement, watered down civil rights. Then the LGBT. Then we got on Hispanics, immigration. Every time it's something else that supersedes. Obama had this problem. There were so many other issues he could never get to the black issues because he had to deal with them, and he started stuffing, and he going issue, and everybody got something but us. Yeah, we put him in office, but because he felt obligated to all the other people, because we didn't put him in office by ourselves, of course. We were the ones that came out and pushed him over the top because we voted like we never voted before. But if he just had us, we wouldn't have made it. So there were so many other communities that came out and voted for him. So he felt obligated as being the first black president. He felt obligated he felt the cross addiction. You see what I'm saying? He felt he had to obligate over there to that other drug. That's our problem. These are the four I want to deal with today. Those four I want to deal with. We first got to acknowledge that we got a problem. If this unsuccessful, this denial, we got to get out of the denial. Just like the person that's the addict, we got to get out of denial. We have to acknowledge that we have a serious problem. We have to look ourselves in the mirror and say, each one of us have to do it. Each one of us say, what am I doing wrong? What am I doing to fix this problem? We got to acknowledge it and take it and own it ourselves. Each one of us. And make it back a black thing. It's okay. It's okay to make it a black thing. Good Lord. We got to control the narrative. I say again, we have to control the narrative. There is no way we should have let 8 shots get past us. We have to make sure when we get something, we put it on our to-do list and we make sure we go check on it. We go check and see what's the court case going looking like. We go check and see, have they arrested anybody else? And we post this. Stop posting all this junk on Facebook. This nonsense. And stop sharing this stupid stuff. Use the platform to control the narrative. We are the biggest users of the book. Twitter, we're some of the biggest users. MySpace, we use it. Our young people use it. Use it to control the narrative. When somebody shares something with you that's stupid, send it back. When you see something, comment it, take that stupid stuff off. Don't be ashamed. Tell them take it down. It's stupid. It's degrading. Use it so we can control the narrative. Use it so we can move the process forward. Use it so we won't keep having the cue trigger response. So what they do, they kill you. And you will have a relapse because you can't respond. They throw the cue at you. And you get a relapse. You go right back to sleep. They take the cue away, you're going back to sleep. 3 months ago, Sacramento. Shut it down. Boom. We said back to sleep. The third one, stay vigilant. The biggest problem that a person dealing with substance abuse have is they won't stay vigilant. They won't push it. They won't stay on it. They won't stay on top of it. It takes us about 30 seconds and we gone back to another subject. Won't stay on top of it. And then they switch gears on us. Because all we talked about all week long was immigration. Sacramento got beat out by immigration this week. We had a march here on immigration right here in the city. Right here. Right here in Wilmington. Right here in this city, we had a march sponsored by us on immigration. I'm not insensitive. Don't. I'm not insensitive. I had somebody comment on me the other day. I'm not insensitive to the families losing their children. I'm not. I got friends at the station that's Hispanic, that's Latino. I'm not insensitive to that. I'm not insensitive to families being separated. But I also know you didn't fix our problem yet. I gave you a picture just last week, a couple of days ago, 1985, of children being separated from their families. I got children being separated today for DSS that's being taken from their families right here in this city. That's losing their children today. I lost them yesterday in this city. That's being separated and might not get back for 2, 3, 4, 5 years. They don't get what it's the parents' problem. What problems led into the family being dysfunctional? Those families go all the way back to the days of slavery. So I'm not insensitive to those children and those families, but I'm also sensitive to what I've been seeing for the last 54 years of my life, dealing with my own community. So I cannot look at that with a blind eye and just say, who, and go march on someone else's issue when I still got issues of my own. I got to stay vigilant. I cannot let them, I have to be like the person struggling with the addiction. I can't run off somewhere else. I got to say, nope, I got addiction. I got a problem right here that I got to deal with. So guess what? Daoud, you can't go over there to hang out at Super Bowl party weekend because there's a lot of alcohol over there and you know you got a problem with drinking. Yeah, I'm talking about myself. I have to tell myself that, no, that's too much. You go over there, you got a problem. You know you got a problem. You know you got caught driving one time. But you can't do that. I have to tell myself, I can't run over there. I have to deal with that struggle that I'm dealing with. And boy, I got my license back last week. You know what I did the other day? I got my license back after having my license missing for 5.5 years. You know what it's like to have your license for 5.5 years? Yesterday, I got in the car and I just rode. Well, I just rode. I put the gas tank full up with gas, and I just rode all over the city. It felt so good to drive in a car, to ride, but you done had your privilege taken away from you for 5.5 years. Yeah. But in 5.5 years, I had to look at the man in the mirror and deal with the man in the mirror. And no, you can't go over there. So in the same way that I have to deal with this cross, I have to deal with it when I'm staying vigilant or when I'm sitting here dealing with this response. I have to make sure, I see it over there. It's a problem, but right now I got to stay vigilant on this black directory. I have to stay vigilant on keep pushing that we get these black businesses off the ground. I have to stay vigilant on the youth of my community and making sure they get a proper education. I have to stay vigilant on my show and make sure this together. I have to stay vigilant on making sure we get businesses open. I have to stay vigilant in advertising events, social events in our community that's productive and bringing quality entertainment to this community. I have to stay vigilant in writing my books and making sure they get published because those ideas that you have, if you put them in print, they last forever. I can't go running off here to Washington, D.C. on gun control. It's an issue, but it's not in my top 10 over here. I have to stay in my lane on my issue, and I have to stay vigilant at it. Let somebody else handle that. What Mike told me yesterday, Mike said, do the best you can and leave the rest to the rest. Do your best and leave the rest to the rest. I like that, Mike. If I don't know Mike on today, but Mike said, do your best and leave the rest to the rest. I have to stay right there, vigilant. I have to. That's right, Jefferson Younger. I gotta stay right there. I can't keep running off. And the last one, nothing. Nothing. I have to learn to tell people what can nothing. I gotta do this. We gotta do this. We gotta fix this. I don't need you to validate me. No, I don't need another race to I don't need another approval. I don't need it to validate me. You need the applause to validate what I'm doing. We don't need that. Nothing. We got to be able to do this ourselves. We got to be able to look at the man in the mirror and say, hey, look, I got an addiction problem. I got to break it. Community, we have to do the same thing. We have to recognize the problem. We have to acknowledge it. We have to accept it. We have to control the narrative. Then we have to doggone sit there and make sure we stay vigilant about the narrative, making sure that we do that. And then we got to do it ourselves. What's the form of deal with today? I bring the other three back on Monday because the other three is just important. Also, control, separation, and genetic vulnerability. Genetic vulnerability, I want to talk about. Just my thoughts. As always, you'll see this out in printed material soon. Anytime I do shows like this on these part ones and part twos, I'm working on. It's a booking process. Sometimes I give it to you early. The book coming out in about a couple months. I finally got the title for it thanks to Darryl Brown and a couple of other ones. It's called. No, I'm not even gonna get the title out. Not yet. But we got the title squared away. I think you'll like it when I finally release it. But it'll be out in a couple months. We'll have it ready. We're working on wrapping it up now and getting it to the editor so we can do that. But I wanted to share that with you today. And it is just really a comparison contrast. If you didn't get tape one, go back on Monday's show. You can get all our shows on YouTube. On the channel on YouTube, subscribe to the YouTube channel. That way you can get us on the regular, because what I do is once I finish the show, I take and edit it or either download it. Most of the time I don't change anything. I send it over to YouTube and put it on the YouTube channel. So you go to YouTube, you get all the no cover shows back to back, and you run them. But get part one to understand part two on how we can deal, because I think it's a real good subject. I've had a couple people call me and say, I like the concept of comparing our addiction of the person struggling with addiction to the struggles that we have. And if you look at it closely, go look up any material on addiction abuse, substance abuse disorder. Look at it. Look at the signs of substance abuse disorder, and then look at our community, and you see a parallel. And you see it all day long. It's clear as day. And then you look at the healing process. That healing process is the same process that we have to take within our community to heal ourselves. And the first ones that start off with acknowledging that we have a problem, and we go from there. Don't forget, tomorrow night, the CLI, I'm appreciate all y'all for tuning in today. I see a bunch of comments, and I'll read your comments when I get off the air. I'll probably comment later, hit you up. Young, I would definitely let you know when the book is finished. You can get the first three off Amazon at this time. Go to Amazon, punch in my name on the page. That would mean you'll find my first three volumes of no covers on Amazon that's available. And as soon as I get volume 4, I'll make sure I tag you and get that information to you. Making an Impact Banquet is tomorrow night, June the 23rd, 2018 at 7 p.m. at the studio at Coastline Convention Center and Event Center, 501 Net Street. If you don't get your ticket here, you can get it there. $45 a person. Come out, meet and greet. Put some nice, good-looking clothes on, and it's downtown Wilmington. We're not planning on having no Waffle House balls down there, so come on down. We go. You in safe company. You don't have to worry about it. Come on down. We're not gonna have no. Believe me, they're not gonna have no Waffle House balls this weekend. You can guarantee. Police gonna be on that corner. That you can guarantee this weekend. You won't see no Waffle House balls on WAAY this week. That I guarantee you. Y'all come back and tune in with me Monday at 12:30. As always, and next Friday we'll be back with Healthy Living Friday. I just had to do part 2 today, and I guess when we were talking about healthy living today, I had to do part 2. I was incumbent for me to do that and get this out there. So we'll be back on Monday at 12:30. Tune in here at the station of WLTT, and don't forget, come out to the Making an Impact Banquet tomorrow night at 7 p.m. at the Coastline Convention and Event Center. Now, this is the Coastline Convention Event Center, the old one. Make sure you come to the right one. Peace and blessings, y'all. Have a great day out there. I'll see you all later.